Another person who has just gotten a bunch of Me Too allegations in the media.
It never ends.
It really is a never-ending cycle. Tim Ballard, who was played by Jim Caviezel in Sound of Freedom, just got hit with allegations that he was guilty of misconduct against fellow anti-trafficking activists in Operation Underground Railroad on undercover missions. And this includes allegedly sending one of them a picture of him in his underwear with fake tattoos, like, hey, how does my disguise look? Asking women that went on missions with him, how far are you willing to go, or how far are you willing to take this? Our ruse as a married couple or as a couple on this mission to save the children. Are you willing to share a shower with me? Are you willing to share a bed with me? Things like this. And none of it is proven. We don't have proof for any of it, but it started out with a letter that was getting sent to donors for anti-trafficking organizations in Utah. Yeah. And that's where all this came from. And then Vice put out a report on it. Basically, the letter was anonymously written to donors of OUR.
Gotcha.
To let them know that Tim Ballard was under investigation, and then he stepped down in June. You said that it was for a different reason.
His claim was that it was for founding the Spear Fund to direct funds towards all trafficking organizations, not just OUR. That was his claim. That was his claim on Tim's show, actually.
Yeah.
Well, that looks better for him, because Vice is saying
that looks a lot better for him.
Basically, the sole reason he stepped down was because of his misconduct investigation.
So here's the thing about Vice.
They're liars.
It is their coverage of Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad is some of the most deliberately deceptive BS I've read in my entire life. This is how I ended up being here today, but I have a video over on my channel, The Lore Lodge, that is the true story of Sound of Freedom. And back at the end of August, it was copyright struck. It was removed by the Estonian Organization for Copyright Protection, whose email address Google gives you the option to like reach out and be like, hey, what was this about? Can we like settle this? Mm-hmm. And it was a non-functional email address. It took Google over a month and me complaining on like 4 different platforms, and they finally reinstated the video last night.
Total Karen about it.
Yeah.
How long did it take?
A month.
So all of the hype around it gone.
All the hype. They already ad restricted it, but any other revenue I would have gotten gone. And the thing is, I mean, I'm trying not to be conspiratorial about that because I was so irritated with so many conspiracies about the Sound of Freedom stuff, like oh my god, the air conditioning in the movie theater wasn't working. Well, it's in 3,000 theaters a day across the country for multiple showings. Yeah, the AC is going to break once a day somewhere.
I mean, the fact that it happened here to people that I know I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that one.
Yeah.
I'm actually more on the conspiratorial lens.
From what I understand, a lot of the criticisms were leveled at AMC specifically, and Tim Ballard was like, no, AMC's been awesome for us. Like, they've been so supportive. But my point in saying that was like, when I was doing the research for that video, it's 2 hours long. It is a 2-hour video on this movie. It is longer than the movie itself. I went and I dug through and I was looking at Vice, Media Matters. I was looking at the Daily Beast, everywhere, all the left wing, all the right wing, as many court documents and official records as I could find. And what I found was, without fail, every time Vice claimed something, it was untrue. It wasn't that it was necessarily false, but it was as far as you could possibly spin it before breaking it. And it was point after point after point, every single thing. I go through them in an itemized way in my video if you want to check it out. But yeah, it was like they were just constant lies. And what frustrated me as well about it was that there were places where Sound of Freedom fudged the truth. There were places where OUR may have made a mistake and not publicized it very much. There were places where Tim may have screwed something up and made a mistake, all in pursuit of doing the right thing, but, it wasn't as out in the open as it could have been. But Vice didn't go for those things.
Kind of like the Andrew Tate thing with Willie Mack, where they went for the low-hanging fruit rather than the actual facts that would have been better portrayed.
Yeah, they could have been honest. They could have gone into the investigation where he went into, I think it was Haiti or the Dominican Republic, And it's the mission that the movie is inspired by when they go into the jungle in Colombia. But they went in there and they brought in a full camera crew, and there were, they ended up scaring some people off. There was one situation where they did it was the same one actually. They rescued a bunch of kids in the Dominican Republic. They got them to a shelter, and then it turned out that the shelter didn't have the capacity and ended up releasing all of them. So they ended up back on the street. But what happened was, it wasn't that OUR released them back onto the street or that OUR was taking care of them. They ended up back on the street. It was that OUR chose the wrong partner, and the partner failed. So rather than going after that and saying, OUR, is trying to do the right thing, but they have bad judgment, Vice instead was like, OUR is not even trying to do the right thing. They're just trying to be like the saviors of everybody and kick everybody else out of the space. And that's not the truth.
Because they want them to be guilty of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're going to see this stuff more and more because he's running he's running for office now. So that's an even bigger reason to at least lay a little bit of doubt at the idea that something like this is guilty, because politically motivated attacks are always going to happen. And
it's fascinating if you go back and you look through the coverage of Tim Ballard since 2014, you see he's the first stuff lionized. Everyone, he is a hero to everybody. Mm-hmm. And then as he starts to do things, say things, appear for Trump and stuff like that, they start to, you can see the media turn on him as he starts to show more and more of his conservative colors. So I have a very hard time when I look at the stuff with Tim Ballard, having read so much of it, believing that this is not an escalation that is due to him running for Senate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's scary too, because these things are going to keep happening. And like we said before, it really does come down to the fact that people are going to make their mind up, yes or no. Like somebody in the chat earlier said, so are we saying that Russell Brand is guilty and Tim Ballard is innocent? Are we saying that Russell Brand is innocent and Tim Ballard is guilty? At the end of the day, we don't know.
I'm saying I want to see some evidence before you try and, if you're going to put somebody's name out there, you better have a damn good case.
Yeah, once again, the women, this is from 7 women alleging these things against Tim Ballard. They were anonymous, once again, out of fear of retaliation, but also they said it's because they fear the repercussions that OUR will get from them going public with their allegations. So from this letter, here's a quote from the letter. "It was ultimately revealed through disturbingly specific and parallel accounts that Tim has been deceitfully and extensively grooming and manipulating multiple women for the past few years with the ultimate intent of coercing them to participate in sexual acts with him under the premise of going where it takes and doing whatever it takes to save children." And he made a TikTok recently responding to this investigation, being like, expect more lies. The only thing I haven't been accused of doing at this point is murder. So expect them to accuse me of murder next, which isn't the greatest refutation of the accusations. But he also put out a full statement saying, "As with all of the assaults on my character and integrity over many years, the latest tabloid-driven sexual allegations are false. They are baseless inventions designed to destroy me and the movement we have built to end the trafficking and exploitation of vulnerable children." He says, given meticulous attention to this issue, any suggestion of inappropriate sexual contact is categorically false. And then he pointed attention to the Spear Fund, which I guess is his new thing. I wasn't even aware that he stepped down from OUR.
I was, and the other thing that rings alarm bells for me with this, and again, if evidence comes out, I am perfectly happy to acknowledge it and change my tune on this, but just... There was that story like a month ago where it was, funder of Sound of Freedom arrested for child pornography charges or something like that. And it turned out to be some random dude who donated like $50 to the crowdfunding. And they portrayed it as if this guy was like a major donor to the film. So when the coverage is that dishonest and you come out and you say this, like, had that article not come out, I would have been more willing to believe this.
Well, there's another report that you found today, Brett, of a guy who actually was an executive producer for the movie Sound of Freedom. His name is Paul Hutchison.
Yes.
Correct? He's been investigated for allegedly groping the breasts of a underage or not underage trafficking victim in Mexico in 2016.
Yep.
And he says this person was over 18 at the time this happened, But the story, it sounds really bad. And when you look into it, it's still weird, but not as bad.
The headline is designed to
doing
make
this
it,
to mislead the traffickers he's trying to deceive and get prosecuted. Okay.
Yeah. Basically, a trafficker asks him if he wants to grope a woman.
Yeah, and the traffickers in this recorded conversation are saying she's 16. He says she was over 18. Mexican police already investigated it and didn't press charges against him because they probably found out that she was over 18 at the time this happened. But he says, I still stand by the integrity of all my actions when I was on these missions, and I'm glad that we did the work we did. He basically says, like, I had good reason for doing this to deceive the criminals.
Yeah, it's undercover work. He's literally,
giving it a charitable...
It's like questionable stuff that I would never want to get involved in because of questions that arise like this.
Yeah.
It's messy.
Yeah.
But, like, when you're in that situation, what do you do?
The charitable way of looking at it, in my opinion, is that the situation they were in called for him to make the decision, do I blow my cover and they get away for good?
Yeah.
Or do I do something that is not good, but we might be able to save the kids?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's kind of the situation. Is he was... I would like to believe that he was weighing this decision between let them get away or, sexually assault somebody.
If the stuff that Tim Ballard is accused of doing is true, like, that's obviously sleazy and gross.
It didn't seem like anything Tim Ballard was accused of was necessarily a crime, but that it was like not good behavior at all. Like reprehensible behavior, but not crime.
His statement, he denied the accusations in a statement and said that he had strict guidelines for myself and our operators in the field. Quote, sexual contact was prohibited and I led by example. Given our meticulous attention to this issue, any suggestion of inappropriate sexual contact is categorically false. That is his claim to the...
So they're saying he did it. He's saying he didn't do it.
And at the end of the day,
what do we do now?
At the end of the day, the news articles just want to smear him. I don't buy that the people at Vice give a crap about victims. I think that they see him as a politically motivated person in the space, and they want to be able to discredit him. And like you said, you found a lot of their coverage to be dishonest. Aiden.
Yeah, right? It was. I don't remember the exact wording I used, but it was. I have never seen someone approach a lie so closely without breaking the truth.
Mm-hmm. Can you give an example?
Oh boy. Off the top of my head, it would be really hard, to be honest.
Well, did some of your video consist of like just your take on the movie itself, like without that context?
Yeah, some of the way the video that I did was structured was I basically opened it by being like, here's what the movie's about. Yeah. Here's the actual plot points of the movie. Here's what the people involved with the movie say actually happened, the changes that were made. Here are the criticisms of the film and how well they stand up to scrutiny. And then the final part was just going over the actual statistics and what people can do to help and how to recognize the signs of sex trafficking, things like that.
Do you think it was a well-made movie?
I think the movie was perfectly decent. I would say it was like a 7 out of 10 movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was a good movie. It was very heavy, emotional, hard-hitting. And I don't think it's the kind of thing that you would like casually watch on a weekend.
No.
But it makes you think and it makes you feel about an important subject, and I think that is a net positive.
That's a movie with a positive, strong male role model, because there are scenes with him and his family.
Yeah.
With him and his family in the movie, and he's
a very good father.
He's portrayed as somebody who is very much family-oriented and cares about all children and all living beings, right? So there's an example of a good father figure, but that's something that they want to tear down. And again, like more than anything, I think it's the political. I think that the if it wasn't for him running for office, that this would have died out of the news cycle by now. But the fact that he's going to run for office, they're like ramp up the smearing.
And then the director, is thinking about running for
president of Mexico.
In Mexico. I'm sure they're trying to dig things up on his character as well.
That is a position.
Imagine,
I would be so terrified to run for any political office in Mexico. It's like, I don't know why you would ever want to do that.
Literally, the only position worse would be running for police chief.
Yeah.
He's just living life on hard mode.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.